Call the meeting of the Wayne County Commission Committee of the Whole to order. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Anderson is excused. Commissioner Basham. Commissioner Clark Coleman. Commissioner Dodd.
Here.
Commissioner Hattis. Present. Commissioner Killeen.
Present.
Commissioner Kinlock.
Present.
Commissioner Kniezek. Commissioner Marecki. Commissioner Baker McCormick. Commissioner Scott. Commissioner Varga is excused. Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydoun. Vice Chair Palomera.
Here.
Chair Bell.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
All right, thank you so much. Next item, please.
Next item is approval of the minutes of the April 19th, 2022 meeting.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Moved and support to approve the minutes from the April 19th meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, please vote. Is our voting machine ready? Are we gonna do voice voting? Okay. Voice votes.
Commissioner Hattis.
We're doing a roll call. We don't have the system up.
Sorry, I started with you. Commissioner Dodd.
Yes.
Commissioner Clark Coleman. Yes. Commissioner Basham.
Yes.
Commissioner Killeen. Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki. Commissioner Baker McCormick. Yes. Commissioner Scott. Yes. Vice Chair Pro Tem Baydoun. Oh, sorry. Commissioner, Vice Chair Palomera.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. And those were for the minutes from the April 19th meeting. Next item.
Chair's remarks.
There are none. Next item.
There is nothing under unfinished business. We are moving to item E1 under new business, which is requesting commission approval of a comparable source partnership agreement with Wayne State University.
All right. All right, everyone, as you know, we've been in partnership at the medical examiners with the University of Michigan for a few years now. They have indicated that they are not interested in continuing that partnership. Wayne State University has indicated that they are interested in a partnership with the medical examiner's office. So today we have our Chief Operating Officer, Janelle Allen, who's going to give us a little history because not all commissioners were here when the initial agreement was agreed upon. And then she'll take us up to how and who we have with us today and why we're here today. And this item will go for approval today or up or down. If it's approved, then it will go to full board on tomorrow. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Janelle Allen.
Good morning, and thank you, Commissioner Chair Bell. As she said, I'm Janelle Allen, the Chief Operating Officer with the County Executive's Office. And it's a pleasure to be here this morning. And joining me are Melita Jordan, the Director of the Health, Human and Veteran Services Department. You may know that the Medical Examiner's Office is a division within the HHVS department. Also joining me are Brian Manning, Assistant County Executive, and Brian used to serve as the Deputy Department Director for HHVS, and for a while was even the Interim Director. We also have Dr. Weil Sacker. Dr. Sacker is the Dean of Wayne State's Medical School, and he is one of the leads for this partnership, as well as Thane Peterson, who is the Vice Dean of Finance Administration with Wayne State's Medical School, who is also a lead on this partnership. This morning, we are here to present a partnership agreement and request your approval for this agreement. The agreement is the first of two agreements that we envision entering into with Wayne State. The other agreement will be what we're calling an operating agreement and will entail all the finite details of what it takes to actually operate a medical examiner's office. We are working on that agreement as we speak. That second agreement, we are anticipating to be able to present to the commission in August. Our ideal is to have that completed and presented and hopefully approved by this body by the end of September so that that agreement could begin October 1st. The partnership agreement that we're presenting this morning would begin upon commission approval, would end September 30th of 2027, which would coincide with what we anticipate being the end of the operating agreement. So the operating agreement is with an initial term of 5 years. Before getting into the details of the partnership agreement, though, I'd like to provide some historical and background information about the medical examiner's office. So before 2011, Wayne County actually operated the medical examiner's office itself with its own workforce. And by that I mean that all of the employees were employed by Wayne County. Wayne County handled everything with all the machinations of that office, technology, equipment, everything. In 2011, the county first contracted with the University of Michigan to provide professional services for the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office. And under that 2011 agreement, the university provided pathologists to staff the MEO, including the appointed medical examiner. At that time, though, all of the other staff remained employees of the county. And then 3 years later, in 2014, the county and U of M agreed to expand the agreement, and the university assumed staffing of all of the office as well as all oversight. With the exception of 2 employees today, which are service workers, provide janitorial services, all of the employees are employed by the University of Michigan. And in 2017, the county entered into a new 5-year agreement with the University of Michigan, where all of the facets of that office were managed and overseen by the university. That agreement expires September 30th of this year. So earlier this year, in anticipation of that agreement expiring, U of M and Wayne State University expressed interest in pursuing a contract with the county for oversight of those operations. Thus, our administration requested both universities to submit a proposal by April 1st of this year. We asked them to submit a proposal to explain their interest in their operational plan for overseeing and managing the office starting October 1st of this year. Wayne State submitted a proposal on the night of March 31st. On April 1st, the day that we expect a proposal from the University of Michigan, we were notified that they would not be submitting a proposal. At that point, we had to determine how do we best proceed. And one thing I would like to stress that while we do believe, and for the reasons we'll explain later, that Wayne State is an ideal partner, we did not just assume, oh, we only have one option. We really said that we need to do our due diligence about how do we best run a medical examiner's office in 2022 and well beyond. So we first formed an interfunctional panel of county staff familiar with the county's operations, including members of the HHVS department, management and budget, and the building staff. This panel's first charge was to conduct due diligence to determine the best operating model for the county to provide high-quality medical examiner services currently and in the foreseeable future. This group started with research about how other counties in Michigan, all smaller than Wayne County, though, as you all know, Wayne County is the largest county in the state of Michigan. And we also researched counties outside of Michigan with similar demographics as Wayne County. We looked at Philadelphia, Miami-Dade, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Miami-Dade, and see how they manage their operations. This research disclosed 2 primary operating models. One, the county engages a university with the medical school, or the county manages the operations in-house. Through our research, this group, we also learned that one of the main challenges that a county medical examiner's office faces nationwide today is a vast shortage of forensic pathologists. The gap between the number of pathologists we have learned in our country is that we have about 400 to 500 pathologists, we'll say, in the network, but there is a need of close to 1,200. So we know that one of the biggest issues that we must be able to address, and this is something that even U of M had challenges with, is making sure that we have a sufficient number of pathologists to run the largest county's medical examiner's office going forward. Given this critical need for forensic pathologists, the evaluation panel concluded that the best operating model to enable the county to retain current and recruit additional well-qualified pathologists and other related professionals is we needed to engage a local research university with a medical school featuring a forensic pathology program and an established affiliation with a health system. We also believe that the ideal university will also have a respected and longstanding history of developing and retaining talent in Wayne County. And a bonus would be a particular focus on a commitment to serving Wayne County residents. Moreover, we also considered the accomplishments that were achieved through the U of M agreement. And there were some achievements, one of the main ones being that accreditation was achieved for our medical examiner's office, an accreditation by the National Association of Medical Examiners that's commonly known as NAME. But we also looked at it, had to consider the challenges that have been faced. And we realized that we needed to use a partnership rather than a transactional contract business relationship like with what we've had with the University of Michigan. Under a partnership, the county will engage a partner who shares in the commitment to success and invests in the current and future success of the overall operations. And in this vein, I would say consider a business where partnerships have ownership and mutual interest in the success. And compare this to a business that contracts with a vendor to provide a particular service for agreed upon fee. This is the relationship we had with the University of Michigan. The county's relationship with UNM was a transactional contract that entailed the university providing specific services for agreed upon fee. This type of business relationship does not involve mutual commitment of investments in the success of the overall business. The proposed business arrangement we have with Wayne State entails shared ownership and commitment to the success of the operation. And I will say to you all that given the challenges that we know about now with our operations, and again, not to belittle or devalue the accomplishments made over the last decade, we believe that we truly need a partnership, someone who is equally committed and invested in the success of the operation. And not just to provide a day-to-day service, transactional one-offs, if you will, but someone who wants to build a relationship and potentially even an institute to be a model in our state and in our country. After determining a partnership is the best operating model for the county's MEO, our evaluation panel then focused on analyzing Wayne State's proposal. So again, I want to reiterate that while we did not receive a proposal for U of M, we did just not feel like we only had one option. We really did, so we have to consider all options, including bringing the operations back in-house. And we said that we must do again what is best to service our residents today and well into the future. And during this part of the group's work, the Wayne State's medical school leadership, along with representatives of the office of the Wayne State president and other related university programs, responded to an extensive set of written questions and participated in several lengthy discussions with our panel. And given the emphasis that our panel placed on engaging a mutually committed partner, the discussion centered around scrutinizing if Wayne State really does share Wayne County's vision of operating the MEO through a partnership rather than a transactional business arrangement. I would say that Wayne State well articulated an overall plan that aligns with the county's partnership concept and values a high standard of performance for performing medical examiner services. This plan also includes operating an MEO ingrained with a culture of empathy for decedents and their families. And while we all know that the critical part of medical examiner services are the actual pathology services, that is what the doctors do. But we know that that is a key part, but the other part is also, we'll say, the front house, the part where you have to interact with families and others who are impacted by a death. You also have to interact with, we'll say, funeral home directors, other businesses that have a key part in the end of life cycle. A culture of empathy will be created and maintained, we believe, through this partnership with Wayne State, because they also plan to integrate the university's mortuary science and pathologist assistance programs to augment core functions. They also have committed to bring in resources from the University School of Social Work, as well as the Department of Public Health, to provide resources to help expand the research and impact of medical examiner services and to help educate future MEO supporting workforce. One thing I will say too about Wayne State and looking at them is about, we needed someone who can help us. We say, if we don't have enough talent, what do we have to do? We're going to have to grow our own talent. And we believe that Wayne State is the ideal partner for that. So the partnership agreement, I want to go over now some details in the agreement, what's in it, and to also tell you what's not in it, and will then ultimately be included in an operating agreement. This partnership agreement is the county's and Wayne State's written and legally binding commitment to partner to establish a structure for operation of the MEO that will positively impact the community through 4 different areas. It's the provision of a state-of-the-art forensic services consistent with relevant legal and accreditation standards. I would tell you that currently we are on a provisional accreditation, and that is due in large part because we have not been able to have a requisite number of pathologists given the volume of work that we have. And we believe that we're going to have to take a different approach, meaning that the county, I would say too, that in the relationship and the partnership with the University of Michigan, the county really did have somewhat of a hands-off approach. They had contracted out the services, and then we did provide some oversight. We plan on we need to be far more engaged in this partnership, which is why, again, a partnership is just not looking for Wayne State, it's the county being equally committed in the success. We plan on working with this partner in the retention, in the recruitment efforts. And I'm very pleased to report that we actually have a couple of candidates now that we have actually been recruiting. One candidate had actually completed a fellowship and received an offer from the University of Michigan. And when she heard that the University of Michigan was not continuing, she had expressed concern. I have personally been in contact with that doctor, and her words to me, Janelle, where do I sign up with Wayne State? So I think we're getting the word out on behalf of Wayne County about how we plan on doing our services differently and how we plan on treating medical examiner services going forward, as well as really recruiting and developing our talent in-house. Through this partnership agreement, there will also be a perpetuation of a culture of dignity and respect for decedents and their families, something we know that is very, very critical. This will also be a pursuit of public health focused research intended to improve health outcomes for Wayne County residents. There's just a dearth of information and knowledge that can be obtained through medical examiner offices and services. And you need that research to get connected into the overall healthcare system in our county to really be able to use that information to drive different outcomes in our county. And we'll also have the integration of various Wayne State University health science programs into the fabric of MEO operations with an intent to educate the next generation of an MEO supporting workforce. Now, the term of the agreement will begin upon commission approval if we so obtain that. And as I said earlier, would end on September 30th, 2027. And this would be designed to align with a 5-year term of an operating agreement that would begin on October 1st, 2022, subject to this board's approval, and which would be the beginning right after the U of M contract ends on September 30th. Under this partnership agreement, we have declared that Wayne State will be the employer for all MEO employees, with the exception of possibly the medical examiner and the deputy medical examiner, which the county is envisioning employing those positions, at least one, if not both of those positions, again, is showing that our oversight and commitment to this partnership and having equal investments in the success of the overall operations. If this is approved, this agreement will allow Wayne State to immediately start offering employment to the current employees to be effective October 1st. Currently, the employees have been told that their employment with the University of Michigan will end September 30th unless they do have other collective bargaining rights where they may have what we call bumping rights, or if they choose to go elsewhere. This partnership agreement, though, we wanted it to show that we are committed right up front, as I said, legally binding commitment that we're going to partner to run our operations. And we wanted to do that, one, to memorialize, to make sure we're on the same page, but also to have something to bring before this body sooner than later so that we can go giving employees some sense of stability and certainty in employment going forward. Because you can't imagine when they heard that the University of Michigan was no longer interested in the contract, that there was a lot of disconcernment. There were a lot of concerns for the staff. So I personally, along with Melita Jordan, Brian Manning, and others, we have actually held staff meetings with all of the staff over at the the medical examiner's office. We have addressed their concerns. Their number one concern has been who will be the employer. I would tell you that we have shared this partnership agreement with them. They understand that this is subject to approval by this body, but we have been very transparent. You can tell they had a lot of questions in particular about what will be compensation, what will be benefits. And one thing that we have put also in this agreement is that in addition to Wayne State being the employer, that if approved, that this will enable them to have current staff salaries and benefit packages that are reasonably comparable to what MEO employees currently receive. And in other words, we do not expect there to be any reduction in salaries and benefits. Now, there might be a different composition where things are at least as good as and valued at what they have today. Under this agreement, we also have a provision that states that Wayne State will work in good faith to ensure that all union represented employees employed by U of M will remain union represented pursuant to current Wayne State collective bargaining agreements. And what this means is that while U of M has asked me, understanding is a bargaining unit where all the employees who are unionized are in there, and the unionized employees are the pathology assistants and the forensic investigators. Wayne State has a number of different unions. Because they have not operated a medical examiner's office, they don't have all the classifications currently within their system. They need to then go evaluate under which union will be best suited for these new classifications. The bottom line, though, is we expect that any position that is currently represented by a union will continue to be represented by a union. Now, this agreement, though, does not have the finite details that you may be looking for, like the cost for operating. Other details, the other facets, histology, toxicology, anthropology, top technology. These are all of the components that will be addressed, as well as many others, in the operating agreement. This agreement also does not address the actual MEO facility. I think everyone is well aware that we do have a number of issues and concerns with the current facility. The county, though, I'm not sure if everyone is aware that back in December of 2020, a year and a half ago, we actually committed, the administration committed to making significant renovations to materially increase the useful life of our current building. That work has been delayed, unfortunately, by the pandemic. However, we do have designs for the renovations. And at this point in time, we do envision making, we haven't decided ultimately if we will continue with all of those reservations, because Wayne State did include in their proposal an option to do the renovations as planned, remain in that building. The renovations have been estimated to extend the life of that building for 10 to 15 years. Wayne State did include a proposal that would include an option of a new facility. I would tell you, we have not vetted that option yet, because we do know that even if we ultimately decide that it is cost permissive for us to do that, we still have to make some renovations there today, because we'd have to continue in that building while a new facility would be constructed. Again, we have not vetted this, but we do envision making some renovations. The question is to what extent, once we're determining what are we ultimately going to do with the facility. And with that, I have some partners here with us. Dr. Saker, as I said, Sacker, who is the Dean of the Medical School, who would also like to share some words with you about, from Wayne State's viewpoint, about their commitment.
Commissioner Clark-Coleman.
Janelle, a question.
Sure.
Sure. Janelle, one of the big obstacles in dealing with the current providers was the attitude in dealing with the funeral directors. I do hope that they will reach out to these funeral directors to make them feel more comfortable in dealing with Wayne State, because the directors, they had huge problems with the current providers. So that is an issue that we certainly need to address. And we need to know who's going to be the person or persons that the funeral directors can go to if they're having difficulty in dealing with Wayne State, if we approve a contract with them.
Commissioner, yes, thank you for those comments. And absolutely, yes, you are correct that there have been concerns there. Melita and I and Brian have actually met with some of the funeral home directors. And one thing I will add about, again, in this partnership, we're saying we need a partner who really shares our commitment to having a culture in the medical examiner that of empathy for everyone involved in the process. And I believe that that is something that unfortunately is not where it is, where we like it to be, the culture there, but we have discussed this with Wayne State, that this is an absolutely critical part, that we need to see some improvement in that area. And that also comes from Wayne County's role as well. But we absolutely share that. I will also say that we believe it really helps that Wayne State has their mortuary science program, where they actually, that's where people go to learn to be funeral home directors and morticians. And so I think that even having that component woven into the operations is going to be a tremendous asset for us as we do develop stronger and more collegial and collaborative partnerships with our funeral home directors.
Let's do this, if you don't mind. Let's have Dr. Satcher say a few words, and then we'll open up for questions for everyone. Doctor?
Good morning, and thank you for having us from Wayne State Medical School here. Ms. Allen outlined a partnership that truly represents our discussions over the last few months. And I have to tell you, we are very excited to consume this partnership. The way we look at it at Wayne State University is this would be a comprehensive partnership that really transcends a transactional contractual relationship. Our motive for that as a state university, as a university in the heart of Detroit and Wayne County, is to provide the best service to the citizens, to the residents of Wayne County. And Janelle touched on a number of aspects of that. Not the least of it is to engage our School of Social Services to have dignified human interactions with the families of the deceased. The funeral directors were mentioned. If you look at what Thane and I and a big team within the medical school are doing, we're really mapping out all the constituencies that interact with the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office to ensure that best interactions, best services are provided to all, and that we have a very respectful, mutually efficient services. Beyond that, beyond the providing the highest quality service we can, and I believe we can provide a very high quality service. My background myself is in pathology, so I do have understanding for the discipline. Forensic pathology is a specialized area of pathology at large, but still all forensic pathologists have training in pathology. So, and many of them actually in the office and around the country, we have graduates from our own program in pathology who chose to have a forensic pathology fellowship and are practicing this specialty. One of them, at least, the deputy director up to now, is a graduate of our own program. So there is a level of familiarity and some ideas to improve upon the operations. As Ms. Allen mentioned, the number one challenge for medical examiners' offices around the country is the shortage of specialized forensic pathologists. And part of the reason for provisional accreditation, such as what UFM got and other places, is the fact that NAME, the National Association for Medical Examiners, is relaxing their own rules with respect to the workload of forensic pathologists. They do realize the reality. There is a good 600, maybe more, shortage across the country. One of our ways of dealing with this is the minute this is approved by the county, we are applying for a forensic pathology fellowship for Wayne State University Department of Pathology. And based on the volume that the office handles, and hopefully with additional staff in forensic pathology, we will be able to train a minimum of 2. We're hoping for more, actually, to address this particular shortage. Beyond that, we also envision the partnership as incorporating this vital service for Wayne County into the programmatic framework of Wayne State University. You heard programs as mortuary science, pathologist assistant, toxicology. What we would like to envision is a forensic medicine institute that incorporates all of the above. And then Janelle mentioned something really very important. The data that medical examiners' office across the country have been started to be utilized to reflect also the health of the communities they serve. Yes, we have public health efforts, we have screening for blood pressure, for kidney disease, etc. There is a mirror to that, and unfortunately for the individual themselves, this is a post-mortem after their death. When you take it collectively, however, by zip code, in an anonymous way, in a totally HIPAA-protected fashion, you have a mirror of the prevalence of chronic diseases in the county by zip codes. And we're talking about some of the endemic problems that we have, and collectively, as a new dean of the school, I believe beyond the medical examiners, we owe it to the county, to the city of Detroit and the county, for the school to be a catalyst for partnerships with our alumni, with the Wayne Health Department, with the Wayne County Department of Health, with the Detroit Department of Health, to start to improve the metrics and the outcome of the chronic diseases in the county. So part of what can be utilized and what we offered also outside the contract is to provide epidemiology and biostatistics and to utilize this data to help us planning better public health services. I can elaborate on this more, but I just wanted to touch base on a few things. Number one, we view this as a comprehensive partnership beyond just an operational one. We welcome what Ms. Allen mentioned in terms of active engagement of the county in the operation. We view this as mutual responsibility that we will shoulder ourselves, but we'll be very happy to work with the county on. At the end, the highest quality service that we can provide to the citizens of the county is what we are committed to.
Thank you, Doctor. Janelle, you want to come back to the mic? And we do have, I do have a list of commissioners who already have questions. I'll start with Vice Chair Joey Palomero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Janelle, and thank you, Doctor. When I think of the medical examiner's office, I think of your basic duties and functions of sometimes identifying the body itself, sometimes identifying the time of death, all the time identifying the cause of death. Are there other functions other than interacting with the family and funeral home? Are there other medical functions that you are performing? And are you doing all of the autopsies, or do some hospital systems perform their own autopsies? Or is the medical examiner's office doing all of the autopsies in Wayne County?
So every death, there are a long list of categories, Mr. Vice Chair, that fall under a medical examiner's or a coroner's office in certain parts of the country. Some examples are death in the emergency room within a very short time of arrival, or under a procedure. Someone is having a cardiac procedure, a stenting, right? And they died within a very short amount of time. This forms the basis, at least, to say this will need a forensic assessment. What happens for hospital versus medical examiners autopsies, and again, this is a field I dealt with for decades, is if a death falls within this long list of categories, the medical examiner office is contacted. We had a patient who died on the table within 45 minutes of starting a procedure. Now, there is a known complication rates for certain procedures, and a more informed medical examiners, and I would say that we have excellent medical examiners, albeit there are fewer of them. And I, by the way, met with them 4 times since we started this endeavor. So I have personal relationship, I know them. They will ask the appropriate questions. And if in their assessment, what happened falls within the norms of complications, then they'll say they will give a clearance that we do not need to perform an autopsy on this individual. And they will give a medical examiner clearance number. Now, back to the hospital, the family and the physicians may choose to pursue an autopsy in the hospital or not. Does that answer this question?
Yeah, yes, it does. And who pays? Does the estate of the decedent pay the medical examiner's bill when it comes out? Is that how the revenue stream works?
This is a service. This is a public service. There is no
fee.
There is no fee.
Okay.
What fees you may be referring to, and I don't know, some families pursue a private autopsy. Some medical examiners would offer a private autopsy, either after the autopsy is performed at the hospital setting or the medical examiner, or at the get-go. And for that, yes, they do charge fees. This is outside the realm of this arrangement. This is a public service that we do. The hospitals, by the way, also do not charge patients' families, the deceased's family, for performing an autopsy.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Basham?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, let me just say, my hat's off to Joel Allen. She takes some of the most complicated issues in Wayne County and does the best she can to deal with us on those issues. So my questions would be, or comments have nothing to do with her ability to get things done. She's phenomenal in what she does. But if I didn't do my job, I'd probably have the best job in the world. But I'm going to be the skunk at the picnic, and I'm going to ask a few questions. So, and I hear a talk about partnership, and from my perspective, and I compare this to other issues that we deal with as commissioners. For example, the jail thing. Actually, by the time we was able to see my own audit report that we had 2,000 hours invested in. The former exec had left, and most of the people that we wanted to ask questions to had left the state. And so with this one here, we're in the process on the audit committee of auditing the morgue. And you know that. And one of the things that brought even more light to this was there was a story done on Channel 4 about people that had died in the morgue, and they didn't know who they were. And quite frankly, they had their information in their pants pockets. And so for me, that tells me there's IT issues. It's not just mortician, it's IT issues. But there's was a lot of other questions and things that was brought out in this news story that I thought was interesting. So, but we haven't got that information. We haven't had a committee hearing yet on the morgue, which is coming up, and I hear there is some findings, but so are we putting the cart in front of the horse? Because I'd like to know, quite frankly, what's going on there? How can we fix it? Is things as bad as it sounds? Are they better? Are they minor? That's not been revealed to commissioners yet. So I'm very, very interested in that. And then the other thing too, and I keep hearing partnership. I know that that pathology is important, but also the Wayne State had a partnership with DMC for their residency program that they discontinued. And it's like, so aren't doctors important also? And it's like, so why did they discontinue? So that all that stuff comes up for me. And quite frankly, I would really like to see my audit report before, I mean, not my report, but the Auditor General's and her staff's work. I'd like to see it in front of our committee before we move forward so that we have some idea on the direction we should be moving, not after the fact. So I'm struggling with just going forward with this before we get that information. I'm not, unless you want to respond, I'm not.
I would like to. If you,
Sure.
and Commissioner Basham, truly appreciate your concerns. And frankly, we share the same concerns. And I would tell you that in part with your concerns about putting the cart before the horse, we know that there has been an audit. Our staff has been very engaged. I know that Ms. Jordan met with Marcella and her staff recently, and it got some very constructive feedback, waiting a response. We actually have taken, because we too were concerned about where do we begin? But we also know that by state law, we must run our medical examiner's office. We also know then that our contract legally is going to end with the University of Michigan. So we have to be prepared to go October 1st. So that is one reason why we actually are taking this two-step contracting process with Wayne State. We typically would have just come to you with an operating agreement, which would address all of those concerns that you were raising. We know that's going to take time. We also know that we needed to bring stability as soon as possible for the staff, because we do believe that we really do have well-qualified staff. We didn't want to lose them. So the reason we came with the partnership agreement first is to say, are we committed? Do we share the same vision, the same mission about we want to run this office to the highest standards possible? So let's memorialize that. We hopefully get your buy-in, meaning the commission here. So then we can bring at least some stability in the office and say that we are now committed to hammering out all of the details. This gives us a little more time to now go get all those details, be able to address the concerns that we know now, and even preparing for the future. So again, what we're saying with this partnership agreement is saying, we're just saying, we're going to figure this out, and we're committed to do this together. And we're committed to do it with a shared vision and a mutual investment in this. So I would say to you that I do not believe by moving forward with the partnership agreement is putting the cart before the horse. I would say it is the first step.
I think Ms. Jordan, did you want to say?
I did.
Go ahead.
My name is Melita Jordan. I'm the Director for the Department of Health, Human and Veteran Services, and I just wanted to respond to Commissioner Basham as well regarding the audit report. We did meet last Thursday for approximately 2 hours that we went through the report with the Auditor General and her staff. And so I personally am in the process now of responding with the written response back to that, and then we'll be meeting again in the committee, as you well know. So it is moving forward. And addressing the issues. And I do believe at the time when the Auditor General will be providing the report to the Commission, that you will get a number of the answers and findings that you are interested in seeing. But I will also say the report was well done. More than 8,000 plus cases were looked at. And I will say to you that I think that the findings and the response will be appropriate in terms of what was found. and not what you read in the newspaper. So I just want to say to you that we have the facts. This was not done because of the newspaper. This was done based on the information that the Auditor General's office and their staff were looking at to make sure that policies, procedures were being handled and looked into. And we are continuing to make sure that we uphold policies and procedures and to make sure that they were giving the public the utmost of services that is required.
Without getting into that, was any of that information, I haven't even talked to the details with the Auditor General yet, but have to do with IT or technology or any of those kinds of issues?
There were some IT issues that did come up also that was also looked at. And so those findings will also be shared with you at the time of the report. It was very comprehensive.
I may say about technology that we are aware of some issues ourselves, even that we absolutely will be a part of our plan to ensure that, again, we are fulfilling our statutory requirements in a timely fashion.
Commissioner Baker McCormick had a quick to that point, and then I'll continue on the list. To that point, Commissioner.
Commissioner Basham, Janelle and her team has been in contact with our committee, and that was the question early on, is what was in the audit? Because, you know, I agree with you, is that we didn't want to move forward with the partnership and not know what was going on with the audit. And so early on, before this partnership ever happened, we agreed that we would reach out to the audit team to find out what the issues were and try to work on those in this new partnership.
To that point, I'm the chair of audit, and I don't know what was in the audit yet. So if you have secret information, I'd be much interested in it. Thank you.
No, I'm not saying that we know what's in the audit. I had the conversation about talking with the audit team and Janelle coming together so that they could find out some of the issues that were brought up or being brought up that needed to be addressed, so that we can then go back to address those issues in this new partnership. So no, I'm not saying that we know all of the issues. I just knew that it was important to address the audit and all of the findings. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll go continue with the list. Commissioner Kinlock.
Yes, Ms. Allen and Dr. Jordan, first of all, I want to thank you all for jumping on this issue once it was brought to the public and to the commission's attention as it relates to how this medical examiner's office has been operating. As Commissioner Basham mentioned, you spoke a lot about partnerships, and it is important for us at the very beginning to understand what that partnership is and how it will be defined. And I think that you understand that that to be important in this instance. But we have to look at the current operations, the current staffing at the medical examiner's office. And what I have heard that you're taking into consideration of protecting the rights and the benefits of the current workers. But we have not, or at least I haven't heard the state of the current, or the status, I should say, of the current medical examiner and what tools or if any evaluation that may have been done as it relates to determining what staff at the medical examiner's office would remain within this new transition. I trust you and Dr. Jordan will do all you can to make sure that we have a better contract and better relationship and also more oversight. But I think it's also important for us to know, who was responsible in the medical examiners for this, embarrassment and this disconnect as it relates to the services that people or the services, the way that they receive them as they interacted with the medical examiner's office at one of the most at one of the most exposed moments when you have to go to visit the medical examiner's office. It just seemed like it was just a horrible treatment that we can never find ourselves there again. So there were people and bodies and employees who were actually part of this disconnect, and just want to know, is there some sort of evaluation that will be in place to determine the level of skill sets that would be acceptable for this under this new agreement?
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, first, with regard to the staffing, that is something that we are, again, discussing in detail with regard to the operating agreement, the number of staffing, which types of classifications, all of those are in the support services. So those are issues that we are discussing as part of the operating agreement. I will tell you that in looking at the operations, we do envision that we probably do need to increase staffing in a number of areas. All of that is being determined during our negotiations about just how many do we think we need, given the volume of work in our office and what we anticipate in the future. So we will envision having that in the operating agreement.
Has there been a determination as it relates to the current medical examiner, his status, and whether he will continue in any capacity with the medical examiner's office?
A final decision has not yet been made, but we certainly will have to make that decision, and we'll make that decision before October 1st.
Okay. Also, the facility, you're diving deeper into that to assess, because as you know, we've heard a lot of concerns and questions as it relates to the refrigeration and just a host of other issues over there. So looking forward to seeing that operators agreement. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next on our list is Commissioner Dobb.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am interested in the metrics of chronic diseases in Wayne County, as the doctor had mentioned. Have we been receiving that information from the previous or the current medical examiner? Has anyone been tracking that information in any way, shape, or form?
This is Melita Jordan. I'm the director for the Department of Health, Human and Veteran Services. So in response to your question, Commissioner Dobb, yes, we do have metrics on the chronic diseases. And of course, when an autopsy is done, we do gather the information also, of course, not only the cause of death, but also if there's any underlying or secondary factors, we do collect that information. We also have quarterly reports. And so we had a quarterly meeting actually last Friday that the Auditor General's staff and the audit staff participated in, where we shared that information as well. I will be moving towards making sure that those quarterly reports are put together and made public on our website so that you can actually have the opportunity to see that. As you know, I think it's now 14 months that I've been here. So those have been some of the things that we've been talking about trying to make happen. But with all some of the other issues that have come on the plate that I was handling, that was one that did not happen as quickly as I would have liked. However, that will be happening. I shared that actually with the Auditor General just the other day. And so we are moving forward to make that happen. That information has been collected. I actually have it in my files. And so we are going to put that together so that you will have it on the website as well. But yes, as you know, chronic disease is something that I'm very interested in, recognizing that it is one of the 7, of course, of the leading causes of death are chronic diseases. And so we want to address those issues, not only from a public health perspective, but also to try to reduce the mortality and the morbidity in Wayne County as well.
Yes, and then that was my second question, was either can the commission receive a report on that or some sort of dashboard, or can it be made public on our website? So I'm very happy to hear that. And I'm assuming that it would be made available or we could be able to drill down by zip code and that sort of thing, so we can see if there's a pattern of a certain disease in a certain area in the county.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
one of the things that I've been very interested in, and I've actually talked to Dr. Sekar about as well, is geospatial mapping. And again, working with the university, have the capability of doing geospatial mapping and then working with the staff, not only our public health department, but also with other staff within the department so that we can drill down and be able to look at not only zip codes, but also census tracts. And so again, having that level of expertise working with epidemiologists, biostatisticians, and statisticians help us to do that type of work. And we've not had that ability to do that. We don't have a lot of the infrastructure in place. However, I will tell you, during the 14 months that I've been here, was able to send a number of my staff for CDC training around geospatial mapping so that they can do that, because it should be at all levels of the areas in which I cover, so that we would be able to do that in our clinical services. We would be able to do that in public health. We would be able to do that in our health choice program that we have as well. So it's very important. So we're moving towards making sure that staff has that. But now that I feel like if we could work also with the university that's close by, we can do more training in that area and then bring the expertise that they have also to the department. And I think that's what will help the county, is to be able to expand upon those types of resources that we can leverage that we don't have currently.
Okay, and all of that information is completely anonymous, it's protected, so.
Yes, absolutely. It is protected information. And again, like I said, we drill down using unidentified information, but we can drill down to census levels to be able to determine where are hotspots within Wayne County. Where do we have more diabetes and or hypertension and or people dying of cancer, or if there's cancer clusters within the county. That allows us to be able then to marshal resources, put programs together, and then to be able to evaluate those programs and put interventions and strategies in place to address that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Monique Baker McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So thank you again for all of the work that you're doing around this, because, you know, it's been a journey. I will say that. One of the questions that I wanted to clarify is the hospital relationship that you have. Can you tell us more about what hospital or hospitals?
So yes, there were actually a number of points that I would like to be given a chance to address. Commissioner, in particular for the partnerships and the hospital partnership, let me start there. Historically, Wayne State Medical School have a relationship with the Detroit Medical Center. You're looking at someone who practiced all his career at the Detroit Medical Center. So a primary clinical partner has been the Detroit Medical Center. And as a point of clarification, the relationship with respect to residency training have not changed. The Detroit Medical Center trains at any given time close to 1,000 trainees between residents and fellows, 973 the last time I checked. Who trains these? Primarily the faculty of Wayne State University School of Medicine, who practice at the Detroit Medical Center. Now, are there difficult negotiations sometime? Absolutely. Are there a couple of these residencies that went away for mutual reasons? Sometimes you can't reach an agreement, but by and large, the greatest majority of the residencies in the Detroit Medical Center are shouldered by Wayne State University School of Medicine faculty. Is this relationship smooth? No, it's a contractual relationship. And every time it comes, and there are some implications also with the Detroit Medical Center being a member of the Tenet family, a for-profit health system nationally. There are some implications and difficulties for that. And the Detroit Medical Center is the primary clinical partner, but not the only one for Wayne State University. We are the largest medical school on one campus in the country. You have some medical schools, take a state like Texas or California, you have the medical school with a campus in Austin, in Dallas, in San Antonio. We have only one campus. What that means is we have to place our students for clinical rotations in a variety of hospitals. And this is an ongoing effort in building, maintaining, enhancing these relationships. Wayne State Medical School provides, among all the schools in Michigan, the largest number of practicing physicians in the state of Michigan. This is something that we're very proud of, quite honestly. So yes, we have relationship with several hospital systems. It continues to be the strongest relationship, particularly in terms of residency training, Commissioner, with the Detroit Medical Center. My other point was for the audit. Quite honestly, I will be very interested in looking at the audit myself. After you deduct what you want from it, any confidential information, I want to learn what I'm stepping into. And I have to share with you something more. Just like Ms. Allen and Ms. Jordan is answering to you, I have to answer through my president, but mostly myself, to the elected body of the Wayne State University Board of Governors, some of whom sitting like this and asking me, why do you want to expose the university to an embarrassment like what you just mentioned? It was not pleasant to watch Channel 4 or any, so why do you want to put Wayne State University? Quite honestly, I think we are stepping up to a service, to a vital service. And what we're calling partnership is not just empty words. We see this as a partnership. My Vice Dean for Finance is here. He will be the first to tell you, there's no profit in this. The medical school will not. This is a cost contract. There is a degree of exposure and responsibility. Why do we do this? Because I think this is the right thing to do, quite honestly. And what Ms. Jordan mentioned in response to your question, Commissioner, with respect to public health data and metrics, we will be providing resources in epidemiology, in biostatistics, in spatial distribution of diseases, etc. This is within what we want to do. One particular thing that was mentioned, and I probed it myself. You may have heard the explanation or not, but allow me to go for this one anecdote. I asked the medical examiners themselves, how come you have a buddy and a family is asking about the person and you say we don't have it? Here's what I was given. This person was arrested in a different state. The person gave a false last name. The person was fingerprinted under the false last name. Later on, the person died within the state of Michigan. The only official record that matches fingerprints and a last name was a false one. When the family called asking about the true last name of this individual, the office said, we don't have such a person. At least you could accept it or not. That was an explanation for one infamous case that I am not making any justification for anyone. When we assume this, we will take full ownership. I would like to get all the information from the audit that can help us as a school moving forward, informed and avoiding any mishaps, any embarrassment. But before just the embarrassment, we want to do the right thing by the county citizens. That's really our.
Other question, well, actually one, the pathology program that you currently have, what's the capacity of it and how long is it, as well as the mortuary science program?
So these are two different programs. The pathology program is a Detroit Medical Center based program run by Wayne State, by faculty of the Department of Pathology. It has a total of 12 residents. It's about the average size of big health system, right? 3 residents per year, which is the case for Henry Ford, for Beaumont. And so it's a total of 12 residents. But what we offer beyond that are specialized fellowships. We have a fellowship in pediatric pathology because there is a standalone hospital of Children's Hospital of Michigan. We have hematopathology. So I'm not going to go into much detail. What we want to establish very quickly is a fellowship in forensic pathology in partnership with the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office. We have a very successful pathology program. Our graduates go to the best places in the country for fellowships, and all of them end up doing well as professionals.
And the capacity of the mortuary science program?
I have to give you that number. I am not, we'll send it. I'm not sure of, I don't want to give any inaccurate information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Commissioner Colleen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Well, as you can see, the amount of questions and concerns from commissioners, this is such a vital public duty that Wayne County has in running the medical examiner's office, and it does bring up a lot of sensitive issues at many levels. I will say I was here 11, 12 years ago when we did the agreement with University of Michigan. I appreciate the discussion today. Qualitatively, it is a completely different discussion than we had 11, 12 years ago, where if I can maybe crudely say, well, we're going to hire these people to run it, go for it. I really appreciate the partnership aspect of this, the public health, the data that's so vital that's out there to be gleaned from the medical examiner's office. And I think all of that is good at so many levels. I do have a question and a couple of comments, and this is anticipation. I'm in full support of this partnership agreement, but anticipation of the operating agreement. I have a couple of questions and comments on that. You provided to commission staff, Ms. Allen, a list of all the represented and non-represented job positions that are currently with the University of Michigan. Were any prior, when the county ran it prior to the University of Michigan, were there any represented jobs that were lost that used to be represented when they were under Wayne County that were no longer represented when the University of Michigan took over?
Commissioner, unfortunately, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I will find out.
Yeah, but we'll talk about that because I look at some of those job classifications, and I certainly would encourage you and Wayne State University to look at those 18 people. I think they're in 6 or 7 different job classifications because some of those strike me as being absolutely bargaining unit work. And so I would very much encourage you to look at that and perhaps increase where appropriate. I can also see where some of those job classifications are not bargaining unit work. But so I'm very much interested in that when it comes back.
I will say that we did recognize already that we thought that there was one classification that probably would be represented at Wayne State that was not at the University of Michigan.
Yeah, okay. But I'm going to be taking a look at that when we get the operating agreement. Just for a couple of comments here, I'm going to echo Commissioner Clark Coleman on this. Over the years, I have talked to funeral directors in my district. I've also talked with the Michigan Funeral Directors Association with regards to issues that they had with the MEO office. So I think when the operating agreement comes back, I would like to hear either from those organizations or hear evidence of how you have reached out and partnered, because again, this is a very sensitive relationship because the funeral directors are in between the ME's office and the families. And so that's very important. But I'll also comment, I think kind of associated with that, and other commissioners have mentioned this, I really want to look at what I would call our front door. Who is answering the phones over there? I have heard both from citizens and from funeral directors, as well as my own calls over to the office. And to put it rather crudely, when I call over, I kind of get the impression that whoever happens to be walking by the phone is the one that picks it up. And then they go off the phone and they got to hunt somebody down or whatever. But just, I think in terms of service to the public, again, with this very sensitive duty that we have, that we take great care that there's a very professional front door when someone calls the office over there. And the last thing I'll comment on is the identification of bodies. When we get the operating agreement, I hope you can educate us a little bit more. I'm aware that, and I don't know all the details, but I'm aware that identifying bodies involves the quality of the police work that is done. Federal, state, and local databases in these matters. I know it's not a very straightforward in a number of cases to be able to do identifications, that there are some systemic issues that are outside of the medical examiner's office that makes this sometimes very difficult and perhaps even sometimes impossible. So I hope when we talk about the operating agreement, you can provide some education to this commission so that we understand what the issues are and we can communicate appropriately with the public out there. In terms of, there's nothing perfect in this world, but since there are some very systemic issues around identifying, I hope you can educate us a little bit on that. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Lastly, I have Commissioner Jesus.
Thank you, Madam the Chair. I think really it's good proposal from the administration and Wayne State University to have a partnership with Experience University, who really in the heart of Wayne County, and we share the name, Wayne County, then Wayne State University. So it it show a lot of success been accomplished in both sides in different areas in this county. I really support this one strongly. And I have a few just remark and question. They really in the past have a positive result and some of them have not so positive result. The public relation aspect with the examiner office. Some people have to wait long hours to do what they need to do in the examiner's officer. And when you lose loved one, no matter what you do, you in a painful state. And I have some good experience during the holiday when everything it's shut down and people have some urgency to bring body American citizen from overseas or somebody wish to be buried overseas. We have a lot of experience of that. Is those things been addressed in the negotiation? How can we enhance those area of services that affect the public directly and affect the image of the service for both sides? And then the beauty about this one here, the relationship between the county and Wayne State University on all levels, it's good. But we have one national problem, which the human resources. Now the employment rate, it's below 3.6. It's mean not too many people out of job. And we have in every industry, every area you go, help wanted. And we need to see how can we address those issues to bring the attention of Washington to the area where they have tightened on the immigration. We used to bring legally 2.7 million a year to fill up the jobs and the need. And for the last 10, 15 years, they shut down the door where the competition from another industrial nation opened the door and take those young generation between 40 and 20 to fill the job they have. And I see problem gonna happen in the future because we lost a lot of industry in the past for cheap labor. The industry moved to Japan, to China. And what's more dangerous, losing industry and job because of human resources. So I hope the university would address those issues with the county to Washington. We need more workforces. And I wish you well in this endeavor, and I will support that greatly. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. We've talked a lot about the audit and what the audit pertains and how it would be beneficial for you to know what's included in it. I'd like to ask our Auditor General, Ms. Cora, if she could just make a couple of comments on the audit at this time.
Sure. Marcy Cora, Auditor General. Just to remind everybody, we had already started the audit before the media attention came to the medical examiner's office. I believe we'd even had an opening meeting. So we understand an audit is about looking at the controls, policies and procedures and processes in place. We ensured our audit entailed looking at the cremation permits that are authorized by the medical examiner's office. We met with several funeral directors, so we understand their concerns. Then we reviewed the processes at the medical examiner's office. We looked at processes for unclaimed bodies. Those are bodies that have been identified but are left at the medical examiner's office unclaimed, to make sure the medical examiner's office is doing all their due diligence to remove those bodies from the medical examiner's office and for final burial. We looked at the process for unidentified bodies, how when property comes in with the body, to make sure controls are in place to make sure that property is safeguarded. Processes for next of kin, so we can identify next of kin, making sure the medical examiner's office is taking all the necessary steps to identify next of kin. We looked at revenue, staffing, concerns with the facilities. There was about 8,000 bodies that came into the medical examiner's office during the scope of our engagement. We dug into the files, probably about 115, to ensure what process were in place for those. We made sure we looked at the ones that were brought to the attention of the medical examiner's office, and the one that the doctor mentioned, that's the exact findings we found too, based on what was in the files. And we looked at also when calls come in, how they're handled. So we believe we have recommendations related to all of these areas, and we've shared them. We met for 2 hours, as Mrs. Jordan indicated. They have our recommendations, and I think we agreed in fact or principle with the recommendations. So it's just a matter within 30 days of report, we just take our findings, put them to the audit report, and the report will be issued.
Thank you, Ms. Cora, and I would suggest that commissioners who would like to attend that audit meeting, when that is discussed, please attend. I think that'll be beneficial for all of us to know what's entailed in that audit. Commissioner Killeen?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for recognizing me again. I just have a quick question for the Auditor General. Ms. Cora, would it be proper for me to say that your audit report will help inform an operational agreement between the county and the medical examiner's office in terms of procedures, that they can inform that agreement and improve procedures?
I would agree, so I also would say the monitoring by not only the department, but within the staff, when the medical examiner's office, make sure there's proper oversight and monitoring. That's probably the main item that's needed.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So when we did this, years ago with the University of Michigan, we had a committee of the whole because this is so very important to the commission and to the county as a whole. The medical examiner's office is a vital, important office that affects everyone in Wayne County. And we want to make sure that it is ran in an excellent way. And I think we can all say that it may not have been ran in a way that would exceed our expectations over the last few years. So public service is what this is. It's not a revenue generator, it's public service. And we want to make sure that we are in a partnership with a organization such as Wayne State that understands the importance of public service. Technology and staffing, those are the two things that are going to make or break this office. Having the proper technology to do identification of bodies, just making sure we're at the state of the art when it comes to technology, because I know there are offices throughout the country that doesn't have that, to make us stand out and make us the excellent operation that we know we can be. And staffing, we've got to get the staff up, and they have to be well-qualified staff, just not bodies in the office, but well-qualified staff from the front office that was mentioned all the way to our pathologists and everyone in between. So those are the things that are going to help us be the best medical examiner's office that we can be. And I'm happy that Wayne State stepped up because they didn't have to. They could have said, whoo, they got some problems over there. Hope they work it out. But they decided that they wanted to help us work it out and be that partner to make sure that we have the best service for our citizens here in Wayne County. So I thank you for stepping up to the plate. As you indicated, you have to take this back to your board of trustees as well. And I'm hopeful that they will understand and see the importance of this great partnership and how we can be great together in this endeavor. So thank you for coming out, Doctor. Thank you for your deputy for coming out as well. Janelle, thank you for the excellence that you always provide to us. I did see a hand before Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Yes, I just wanted to also say that I met with the staff. We had a tour, and definitely we do have to improve on our facility, but the staff is really ready and excited about this new transition. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Awesome. And I will say, I remember when I chaired Health and Human Services, we had a meeting over at the medical examiner's office, and we also had an opportunity to witness an autopsy, which was not for the faint at heart. So, but I think it's important that we see that operation to see how that operates and how that goes, because we're in the position where we're making decisions on how we proceed with that. So at this time, we do have Commissioner Kinlock.
At the time of the motion to be made, I would like to have the honor of making a motion. Wayne State's in my district.
Okay, are you making a motion, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, I move to recommend to the full commission on the approval of the partnership agreement.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to approve the operating agreement on today and then move this item to full board on tomorrow. Do we have the capability of using our touchscreens, or are we doing voice votes? Vocal, okay. So we're going to do voice vote for this item. All in favor, voice vote, individual vote, we'll do roll call vote. So go ahead, Madam Clerk, with the roll call vote.
Commissioner Basham? Commissioner Clark Coleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Hattis?
Yes.
Commissioner Kling?
Aye.
Commissioner Kinlock?
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki? Yes. Commissioner Baker McCormick?
Yes.
Commissioner Scott? Vice Chair Palomero?
Yes.
Chair Bell?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right, thank you. Item number 2 has been withdrawn for the agenda. The Economic Development Department is not ready to present to us at this time. So when they are ready, we will have another committee of the whole. And let me just also say, this is the partnership agreement that we voted on today and moving on to full board. We will have another committee of the whole to discuss the teeth and the meat, which will be the operating agreement, and that August-ish, August or so. So just be prepared to have a probably longer conversation, because that would be the meat of what we'll be getting into in August for the operating agreement between Wayne County and Wayne State University for the medical examiner's office. At this point, item number F, Madam Clerk.
Such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Are there any such other matters? Next item.
Public comments. I have no emails.
Okay, let me also say that Commissioner Varga is listening on. She wasn't able to come in, but she is listening on. So hello, Commissioner Varga. Are there any public comments? Anyone?
Commissioner Bell.
Go ahead, Commissioner Varga.
Thank you. It has been a very interesting conversation today. And had I been able to be there in presence, I would have voted yes.
Thank you, Commissioner
you.
Varga. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Okay, anyone on the telephone or on Zoom for public comments? You have 2 minutes. Anyone for public comments? All right, hearing none. Next item, please.
Adjournment.
All right. Support, all right.